High Admiral Vexthor of the Kraxan Empire stood on the bridge of the flagship, Eternal Dominion, his scaled fingers drumming against the crystalline control panel as he studied the holographic display of the Sol system. The third planet, designated Target 3429 in their database, hung like a blue jewel in the void, its singular moon orbiting in what the Admiral considered an almost mockingly peaceful manner. "Status report," he commanded, his deep voice resonating through the bridge's acoustic chambers. First Officer Zyratel approached, her ceremonial armor clicking softly against the metallic deck. "Preliminary scans confirm our initial assessment, High Admiral. The species appears to be pre-FTL, though they've established primitive bases on their moon and neighboring planet. Their military capabilities are..." She paused, checking her data tablet, negligible by Imperial standards. Vexthor's facial scales shifted in what passed for a smile among his kind. The Kraxan Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, and this one would be no different. What caught his attention was the moon, rich in quantium, 516, the rare mineral essential for their faster-than-light drives. They'd detected its unique signature from 12 light-years away. "Their moon contains enough Q-516 to power our entire fleet for a century," he mused. "And these primitives use it for nothing more than simple mining operations and research stations." The bridge crew continued their work in efficient silence as more data streamed in. The humans, as they called themselves, had achieved space flight barely half a century ago. They still relied on chemical rockets for most of their space travel, though they'd recently developed some rudimentary ion engines. "Begin the harvest," Vexthor commanded. "Standard Protocol 7 Alpha." Zyratel's scales flickered with concern. "Sir, about Protocol 7 Alpha. Our xenopsychologists have noted some unusual patterns in human behavior. They seem to have a strong emotional attachment to their lunar satellite. They've named it, written countless stories about it, even based religious beliefs around it." The High Admiral dismissed her concerns with a wave of his scaled hand. "They're pre-FTL, Zyratel. They barely understand gravitational dynamics. The loss of their moon might cause some temporary disruption to their tidal patterns, but our compensators can handle that. Besides," he added with a note of finality, "they can't do anything about it." The harvest ships moved into position, their massive forms dwarfing the human satellites they casually swept aside. The ships deployed their quantum destabilizers, preparing to break down the moon's mass into manageable chunks for processing. On Earth, Dr. Rena Patel stood in the Lunar Observation Center in Mumbai, her coffee cup slipping from nerveless fingers as she watched the massive ships position themselves around the moon. The emergency channels were exploding with activity. Similar scenes were playing out at every major observatory and space agency around the globe. "Get me the UN Security Council," she barked into her phone, "and someone wake up the Prime Minister." But before any human authority could formulate a response, the alien ships fired. Beams of intense energy struck the moon's surface, beginning the destabilization process. What the Kraxan Empire couldn't understand, given their dismissive attitude toward primitive species, was that humans had prepared for scenarios they considered absolutely impossible. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in hardened bunkers that even most humans didn't know existed, automated systems detected the attack and initiated their programmed responses. These weren't simple defense protocols, they were the product of generations of humans asking, "What if?" and then building answers to those questions, no matter how unlikely they seemed. The moon's destruction took 17 minutes. The Kraxan ships worked with clinical efficiency, breaking down Earth's ancient companion into harvestable chunks. High Admiral Vexthor watched with satisfaction as the operation proceeded exactly according to plan. Then First Officer Zyratel noticed something odd in the data streams. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from the lunar debris. Some of the fragments appear to be active." Before Vexthor could respond, the first modified mass driver, hidden in what humans had claimed was a simple mining facility, fired its payload. A chunk of moon rock, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, slammed into one of the harvest ships. The vessel's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and conventional projectiles, proved surprisingly ineffective against a piece of moon traveling at relativistic speeds. "Impossible," Vexthor breathed, watching as the harvest ship split apart. "They're pre-FTL. Sir," Zyratel's voice had taken on an urgent tone, "we're detecting launches from the Earth's surface. Thousands of them. And the debris field, it's becoming weaponized somehow. The humans are deploying some kind of automated systems throughout the fragments." The High Admiral watched in growing horror as the humans demonstrated exactly why making assumptions about primitive species was a potentially fatal mistake. The lunar debris field, rather than dispersing as it should have, was organizing itself. Automated systems, hidden within the moon for decades, were activating throughout the fragments, turning them into weapons, shields, and staging platforms. "All ships, battle formations." Vexthor commanded, but it was already too late. The humans had prepared for this, or something like it, for longer than the Kraxen had been watching them. They hadn't needed FTL drives to create a defense system that would make any attacker regret their choices. As the first wave of modified moon fragments struck the Kraxen fleet, as human spacecraft launched in numbers that suggested they'd been building them in secret for years, as communication channels filled with human messages that mixed fury with almost gleeful innovation, High Admiral Vexthor realized he had made a terrible mistake. The moon hadn't just been a satellite to them. It had been a shield, a backup plan, and now, through the ingenuity that the Kraxen had dismissed along with all their other capabilities, it would become humanity's first weapon in interstellar war. In the Mumbai Control Center, Dr. Patel watched the unfolding battle with fierce pride. "You want our moon?" she whispered, watching as another Kraxen ship succumbed to humanity's preparations. "Then let us show you what Earth does to those who threaten her children." The first battle for Earth would last less than 6 hours. By its end, the Kraxen Empire would learn a lesson that would echo through galactic civilization for centuries: never underestimate a species that In the chaos following the moon's destruction, something unprecedented happened: humanity stopped fighting itself. General Isabella Torres stood in the newly established Global Defense Command Center, carved deep into the Andes Mountains, watching as representatives from every major nation coordinated their responses. The facility had existed for decades, built in secret through an agreement that would have seemed impossible during peacetime. "Status report on Project Prometheus?" she asked, her voice carrying across the command floor. Commander Nikolai Volkov looked up from his station, his eyes bright despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. "The reverse engineering teams are making breakthrough after breakthrough. It turns out we understood more about their technology than we should have, we just lacked the resources to implement it." "Resources like Quantium 516, Torres noted grimly. "The same material they tried to harvest from our moon." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Humanity had discovered Q-516 in the moon decades ago but had kept the discovery quiet. Instead of mining it, they'd built contingencies around it, knowing that any sufficiently advanced civilization would eventually detect it. "Dr. Kumar's team has cracked their propulsion mathematics," Volkov continued. "She says, and I quote, their FTL drives are embarrassingly inefficient. It's like they stopped innovating centuries ago." Across the globe, humanity's industrial might was shifting with stunning speed. Factories retooled for war production, research facilities abandoned peacetime projects, and hidden installations emerged from their camouflage. The Kraxen Empire had assumed Earth's visible military capabilities represented their full strength. They hadn't understood that humans had been preparing for this moment since they first looked up at the stars and wondered, what if we're not alone, and what if they're not friendly? In orbit, Commander Wei Chen directed the space station, humanity's shield, as it coordinated the increasingly complex dance of weaponized moon fragments. The automated systems hidden within the moon were performing beyond their designers' wildest expectations, turning what should have been a debris field into a controlled weapon platform. "Another Kraxen ship attempting to jump to FTL," his tactical officer reported. Lunar Fragment Cluster 7 is in position to intercept. Chen watched as the fragments, guided by prepositioned gravity drives, caught the alien vessel in a carefully calculated crossfire. The cracks in ship's shields flickered and failed under the impact of moon rocks traveling at relativistic speeds. They still don't understand, Chen mused. They think this is improvised desperation. They haven't realized this is all by design. Back on Earth, in a facility beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Amara Okafor led the team analyzing captured cracks in technology. Pieces of their ships, brought down by the initial lunar counterattack, were providing insights that would have taken humanity decades to develop independently. Their technological development is almost linear, she explained to the holographic gathering of world leaders. They find something that works and stick to it. But humanity? She gestured to the disassembled alien drive components surrounding her team. We're taking their tech and improving it even as we reverse engineer it. The Kraxan fleet, or what remained of it, had pulled back to the outer solar system to regroup. They maintained a communications blackout, but Earth's long-range sensors, hidden in deep space installations, tracked their movements. High Admiral Vexthor was undoubtedly preparing a counteroffensive, still unable to accept that his primitive opponents had outmaneuvered him so thoroughly. In Geneva, the newly formed Human Unity Council convened its first session. Representatives from every nation gathered to coordinate humanity's response to the invasion. The session was brief and unprecedented in its unanimity. We are faced with a choice, Council President Maria Santos declared. We can remain bound by our terrestrial divisions, or we can embrace our shared destiny as Earth's children. The Kraxan Empire has given us a gift, they have shown us that our differences are nothing compared to the challenges that await us among the stars. The vote was unanimous. Earth would fight as one. In orbit, the fragments of humanity's moon continued their complex dance. Each piece, guided by systems prepared for this very scenario, became part of humanity's first line of defense. But they were more than weapons, they were becoming foundations. Begin Phase 2, General Torres ordered. Across the debris field, hidden construction systems activated. The larger moon fragments, stabilized by gravity drives, began their transformation into humanity's first true space fortresses. What the Kraxan had intended as an act of resource theft was becoming the seed of humanity's expansion into space. Dr. Okafor's team made another breakthrough, this one concerning the Kraxan's communications technology. We can break their encryption, she announced. More importantly, we can trace their transmissions back to their home systems. The implications were clear. Humanity wouldn't just defend, they would take the fight to the enemy. The same determination that had driven humans to split the atom, reach the moon, and prepare for impossible scenarios would now drive them to the stars. Commander Chen watched from his station as the first of the moon fragment fortresses came online. Its weapons, derived from both human innovation and reversed-engineered Kraxan technology, stood ready. The fortress's name seemed particularly appropriate, Luna's Legacy. They thought destroying our moon would demoralize us, he said to his crew. Instead, they gave us the means to reach the stars. And when we get there. He left the thought unfinished, but everyone understood. The Kraxan Empire had made a fundamental mistake. They had assumed that humanity's visible technology represented their limits. They hadn't understood that humans had spent generations asking, what if, and building answers. They hadn't realized that every scientific advancement, every technological breakthrough, had been developed with dual purposes, one for peace, and one for the day the stars went to war. Now that day had come, and humanity was ready. More than ready, they were eager to show the galaxy exactly what happened when someone underestimated the third planet from an unremarkable star. The moon was gone. High Admiral Vexthor's command center aboard the Eternal Dominion had become a tomb of shattered certainties. The holographic displays showed the brutal reality, half his harvest fleet destroyed, the rest damaged, and the supposedly primitive humans deploying technologies that shouldn't have been possible. "New contact," his sensor officer called out, panic evident in their voice. Massive energy signature emerging from the lunar debris field. The Admiral watched as something impossible took shape. The humans had done more than weaponize the moon's fragments, they'd built something with them. The largest pieces had been assembled into a makeshift battle station, its surface bristling with weapons that mixed human ingenuity with reversed-engineered Kraxan technology. "Imperial Command responds to our distress call," First Officer Zyratel reported, her scales pale with stress. They're laughing, sir. They think we're joking." Before Vexthor could respond, the human battle station fired. Its main weapon was deceptively simple, a mass driver that used smaller moon fragments as ammunition, accelerated to velocities that turned them into relativistic projectiles. The Kraxan's energy shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, proved almost useless against solid chunks of moon rock moving at appreciable percentages of light speed. On Earth, Operation Lunar Vengeance entered its second phase. Dr. Okafor's team had done more than crack the Kraxan's encryption, they'd found weaknesses in their entire technological approach. Their mistake was optimization, she explained to the Unity Council. They found efficient solutions and stuck to them. But humans? We're messy. We try everything, even ideas that seem ridiculous. And sometimes, those ridiculous ideas work. The proof of her words was unfolding in space. Humanity's first true space fleet emerged from hidden facilities around Earth. The ships looked nothing like their Kraxan counterparts, they were asymmetrical, jury-rigged combinations of human and alien technology, each one an experiment in controlled chaos. Commander Raj Patel, leading the Earth fleet from the flagship Earthborn Fury, couldn't help but smile at the Kraxan's confusion. Their tight formations, designed to maximize shield overlap, made perfect targets for humanity's unorthodox weapons. "All ships, execute Operation Scatter Shot," he ordered. The human fleet broke formation in ways that would have horrified any conventional military strategist. Each ship moved independently, using maneuvers that seemed random but were actually carefully calculated to maximize the effectiveness of their unique weapons. The Kraxan fleet's response was predictable, they maintained their disciplined formations, tried to establish firing solutions on the erratically moving human vessels, and completely failed to adapt to humanity's unconventional tactics. "They're still fighting the last war," Patel observed to his tactical officer. "We're fighting the next one." In orbit, the battle station, officially named Luna's Wrath, but already nicknamed Moonshot by its crew, demonstrated another human innovation. Its surface rippled as nanomachines, developed in secret over decades, reconfigured its structure in real time, adapting to the Kraxan's attacks even as they happened. High Admiral Vexthor watched in horror as his fleet's carefully coordinated attack patterns were turned against them. The humans seemed to be fighting without any recognizable doctrine, yet there was a deadly purpose to their chaos. "Sir," Zyratel reported, "we're detecting energy signatures consistent with quantum tunneling. But they're using it wrong, they're deliberately creating instabilities in the quantum field." "Wrong?" Vexthor asked, watching as another of his ships succumbed to the humans' apparently improper use of advanced physics. "Are you certain we're the ones using it right?" The battle reached its turning point when the humans unveiled their masterstroke. The smaller moon fragments, which the Kraxan had dismissed as mere debris, revealed themselves to be carrier platforms for thousands of automated drones. These machines, each one combining human AI with reversed-engineered Kraxan technology, swarmed through space like angry hornets. "They're not just fighting us," Vexthor realized too late. "They're learning from every engagement, adapting their tactics in real time." The drones demonstrated this by turning the Kraxan's own shield frequencies against them. Rather than trying to overpower the shields, they matched their resonance perfectly, then changed frequency slightly, turning the shields into amplifiers for their attacks. Commander Patel watched with grim satisfaction as the Kraxan fleet began to break apart. Their rigid command structure, so effective against conventional opponents, proved fatally inadequate against humanity's fluid, adaptive strategy. Send the message, he ordered. Across all frequencies, in every language humanity had decoded from the Kraxen's databases, the same transmission went out: you took our moon. We took your fleet. Consider carefully what happens next. The threat wasn't idle. Dr. Okafor's team had already decoded the location of the Kraxen homeworld from their command signals. Humanity's new ships, built with a combination of determination, desperation, and innovative genius, were capable of following them home. High Admiral Vexthor, watching his fleet disintegrate under the combined assault of weaponized moon fragments, hybrid human-alien ships, and swarms of adaptive drones, made the only decision he could. All ships, he transmitted, full retreat. Get us out of this system. As the surviving Kraxen ships fled into FTL, humanity celebrated their first victory in interstellar war. But it was only the beginning. The moon's destruction had forced humanity to reach for the stars centuries ahead of schedule, and they had no intention of stopping. Prepare Phase 3, General Torres ordered from the Global Defense Command. The Kraxen Empire needs to understand that attacking Earth wasn't just a tactical mistake, it was an evolutionary one. They forced us to adapt, to grow, to reach for the stars. Now they get to live with the consequences. In orbit, the fragments of Earth's moon continued their dance, no longer just weapons but the foundation of humanity's future among the stars. The moon was gone, but its children had risen, and they carried with them humanity's unbending will to survive, adapt, and overcome. The stars themselves seemed to dim as humanity prepared for the vast expanse of interstellar space was no longer empty. Humanity's fleet, born from the ashes of their destroyed moon, pursued the retreating Kraxen forces with relentless determination. Each human vessel was a testament to their species' incredible adaptability. No two ships were identical, each one an ongoing experiment in combining terrestrial innovation with captured alien technology. Admiral Raj Patel, now commanding the expanded Earth Defense Fleet from the flagship Earthborn Fury, studied the quantum wake trails left by the fleeing Kraxen ships. Thanks to Dr. Okafor's breakthroughs, they could not only track the enemy's FTL signatures but predict their likely emergence points. They're still following standard Imperial escape protocols, his tactical officer, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, reported. They haven't realized we've decoded their entire playbook. Or they can't adapt fast enough to create new ones, Patel replied. Status of the Luna fragments. The Luna fragments, the largest pieces of Earth's destroyed moon, had been transformed into mobile battle platforms. Each one carried a combination of mass drivers, quantum weapons, and swarms of autonomous drones. They were humanity's secret weapon, impossible to predict, impossible to counter, and powered by the very quantium 516 the Kraxen had tried to steal. Fragments 7 through 12 are in pursuit formation, Tanaka confirmed. The onboard fabricators are continuing to evolve their weapon systems based on combat data. In her laboratory aboard the mobile research station, Innovation's Edge, Dr. Okafor worked with her international team to push the boundaries of what was possible with the captured Kraxen technology. The aliens' rigid, optimization-focused approach to science had left countless avenues unexplored, avenues that human creativity was now exploiting. Their quantum drives operate on the assumption that stability is paramount, she explained to her colleagues. But we've proven that controlled instability, properly harnessed, can achieve effects they considered impossible. The proof of her words was visible in the performance of the human fleet. Their ships didn't just travel through space, they twisted it, created microsingularities as weapons, and performed maneuvers that the Kraxen's tactical computers dismissed as suicidal until they succeeded. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Command had evolved into the Terran Space Force Command. General Torres oversaw the continued transformation of human society as the species embraced its new reality as a spacefaring civilization. Production of Series 3 hybrid drives is exceeding projections, her assistant reported. The automated factories in the Luna fragment colonies are operating at 300% of expected capacity. The colonies were perhaps humanity's greatest achievement in the wake of the moon's destruction. They had taken the largest stable fragments and transformed them into self-sustaining habitats. Each one was a proving ground for new technologies, a military outpost, and a symbol of humanity's resilience. The hunt for the Kraxan fleet continued across light-years of space. The aliens attempted to lose their pursuers in nebulae, through complex FTL jump patterns, and even by sacrificing ships as distractions. None of it worked. Humanity's fleet was learning, adapting, and improving with every engagement. New contact. Tanaka called out. Kraxan reinforcements at bearing 227 Mark 045. Admiral Patel watched as a fresh squadron of Kraxan warships emerged from FTL. They were larger than the Harvest fleet, obviously designed for pure combat rather than resource extraction. Under normal circumstances, they would have been intimidating. "Launch the moon's worm," Patel ordered. From the Luna fragments emerged clouds of autonomous drones, each one smaller than a fighter but carrying weapons that could cripple capital ships. The drones operated on principles that merged human neural networks with quantum computing, making them capable of tactical innovations that often surprised even their creators. The Kraxan reinforcements fell into their standard combat formations, their shields overlapping in patterns that had served them well for centuries. They weren't prepared for weapons that ignored conventional physics, for drones that could predict their responses before they made them, for enemies that treated the impossible as merely inconvenient. "They're sending a transmission," Tanaka reported. "They're demanding our surrender." The bridge crew's laughter was cut short as the moon's worm engaged. The drones didn't just attack the Kraxan ships, they infected them. Microscopic machines, developed by combining Earth nanotechnology with alien quantum principles, burrowed through shields and hulls, transforming the enemy vessels from within. "Remarkable," Dr. Okafor commented, watching the battle data stream in. "Their technology is so focused on preventing change that it's particularly vulnerable to forced evolution." The battle was brief but decisive. The Kraxan reinforcements, unable to adapt to humanity's constantly evolving tactics, were systematically disabled. Their crews were given a choice: surrender and share their knowledge, or attempt to flee and be hunted down by weapons they couldn't understand. Most chose surrender. In the aftermath, as human ships secured their prizes and the Luna fragments positioned themselves to defend against further attacks, Admiral Patel received a priority transmission from Earth. The Unity Council had made a decision: the hunt for the remaining Kraxan forces would continue, but it was time to send a message to the wider galactic community. "We're dispatching diplomatic vessels to all detected alien civilizations," General Torres informed him. "They need to understand what happened here. Not just the destruction of our moon, but its consequences. They need to know that humanity doesn't just survive attacks, we transform them into opportunities." The message was clear: Earth was no longer a primitive world to be harvested or conquered. They were a species forged in the crucible of an alien attack, tempered by the destruction of their moon, and now armed with technology that merged the best of human innovation with captured alien science. And they were coming to the stars not just as warriors, but as a force for change in a galaxy that had grown too comfortable with its limitations. The hunt for the Kraxan would continue, but it was no longer just about revenge. It was about proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their tech. 2 years after the destruction of Earth's moon, the galaxy had changed irrevocably. The Kraxan Empire, once a dominant force in interstellar politics, had been reduced to a fraction of its former territory. But the true revolution wasn't military, it was cultural. Admiral Patel stood on the observation deck of Luna's Legacy, the largest of the transformed moon fragments, now a thriving space colony and diplomatic hub. Below him, representatives from 12 different alien civilizations gathered for the first Galactic Council meeting ever hosted by humanity. "They still don't quite understand us," Dr. Okafor noted, joining him at the viewport. Her work had revolutionized space travel, merging human theoretical physics with practical alien technology in ways that had rewritten the rules of interstellar civilization. Do we want them to? Patel asked, watching as a delegation of crystalline beings engaged in animated discussion with human diplomats. Our unpredictability is our greatest advantage. The remnants of Earth's moon had become more than weapons or colonies, they were symbols. Each fragment hosted a different aspect of humanity's explosive growth into space. Some were research centers, others manufacturing hubs, and still others served as cultural exchange points where humanity shared their unique perspective with the galaxy. In the Terran Space Force Command, now housed in an orbital facility that dwarfed anything Earth had possessed pre-invasion, General Torres reviewed the latest reports from the frontier. The remaining Craxan forces had retreated to their core worlds, but their influence had been permanently broken. The Andorian Collective is requesting our assistance, her aide reported. They want to adapt some of our hybrid technology for their environmental restoration projects. This was perhaps the most unexpected outcome of the moon's destruction. Humanity had become not just a military power, but a source of innovation for the entire galaxy. Their habit of questioning established principles, of finding new ways to combine disparate technologies, had sparked a renaissance in interstellar science. The Luna fragment colonies had grown into cities, each with its own character but all sharing the same pioneering spirit. They were living proof that humanity could take destruction and transform it into creation. The largest fragment, New Armstrong, had become famous throughout the galaxy for its quantum engineering schools, where humans taught aliens how to break past their self-imposed limitations. Another Craxan delegation is requesting asylum, Lieutenant Tanaka reported to Admiral Patel. This group includes their lead quantum physicists. They say they want to learn our impossible methods. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The very empire that had dismissed humanity as primitive was now sending its brightest minds to learn from them. The human approach to science, messy, creative, and endlessly questioning, had proven superior to the Craxan's millennia of careful optimization. In her lab aboard Innovation's Edge, Dr. Okafor put the finishing touches on humanity's latest gift to the galaxy, a new form of quantum drive that made the original Craxan designs look like steam engines in comparison. It worked by breaking half a dozen immutable laws of physics, and it had started as a joke during a late-night research session. The difference, she explained to a group of alien scientists, is that we never accepted impossibility as a final answer. When the Craxan destroyed our moon, they thought they were demonstrating their superiority. Instead, they showed us what we could achieve when pushed past our limits. The galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's emergence as a major power. Some civilizations embraced the change, eager to learn from a species that had gone from planetary bombardment to interstellar supremacy in less than a month. Others watched nervously, worried about what other innovations these unpredictable humans might develop. But the greatest change was to humanity itself. The destruction of the moon had united Earth's nations in a way no human effort had ever achieved. The old divisions hadn't disappeared entirely, but they had been overshadowed by a shared purpose, the exploration and advancement of human potential among the stars. The Luna fragment colonies continued to grow, each one a testament to humanity's resilience and creativity. They were no longer just pieces of a destroyed satellite, they were the seeds of a new civilization, one that stretched across the stars and refused to accept any limitation as permanent. We should thank them, in a way, Admiral Patel mused, watching as another alien delegation arrived at Luna's legacy. The Craxan thought they were just destroying a moon. Instead, they gave us the stars. As if in response, a piece of lunar debris streaked past the viewport, its surface glinting with the same technological innovations that had transformed humanity's understanding of the universe. It was a reminder of where they had come from, and a promise of where they were going. The moon was gone, but its legacy lived on in every human innovation, every broken barrier, every impossible achievement that humanity casually added to the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. And somewhere out there, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging that the universe had become a far more interesting place since humanity had been forced to reach for them. The day the moon fell had become more than a historical event. It was the moment humanity realized that their greatest strength wasn't in what they possessed, but in how they responded when everything was taken away. That was the true